Okay, hopefully we've given everybody enough opportunity to get across. I'm sure there'll be some people joining as we go. But just to introduce myself, so my name's Nick Homan, sales leader in EMEA for Catchpoint. And today, obviously, delighted you could join us for this fireside chat. The format of the chat, we've actually pre-recorded a section of this so that this could be done and played in the best format. The way we're going to work it is that as we play the video, we'd like you to post any questions you may have for Martin or myself in the chat box, and then we will get to them after the session. The chat itself will last approximately 30 minutes, leaving time for those questions at the end. So hopefully that works for everybody, and I think we can go ahead and roll the VT.
Hi everybody, welcome to this fireside chat with Martin from SAP. Welcome Martin, it's great to have you here today in SAP's office in the City of London with the backdrop of the Gherkin, which is fabulous, and also on the day you celebrate your 10th anniversary with SAP.
Yes,
which is great.
Very exciting to be in this office. 10 years with SAP, it's a long time, good history,
Fantastic.
a lot of memories.
So let's start, if you could tell the audience a bit about yourself, how you got into observability, and your role at SAP.
Of course, no problem. So yeah, I'm Martin. I'm based in beautiful Germany, Munich. So it's a good place to be. I'm here in London, also very nice, the city. Yeah, 10 years with SAP, it's a long time. Actually, I started my career in security. So I did a lot of security consulting all around the world. Traveled, and then in 2015 I thought, okay, now it's time to go to SAP, work there in security in the beginning, did projects like typical consulting jobs, and then I joined this small acquisition of SAP, which is Hybris, the commerce shops. It's part of the history because Hybris is not used anymore, so it's commerce now, and I joined their security, built up some security practices, and then one day, one guy during COVID, who was the expert in observability, left the company, and my manager said, "Hey Martin, you're in Munich, the guy's in Munich, can you do the handover? I don't have anyone else, no one can travel, it's COVID, so just do the handover and we figure it out later who will take it from you." And that later never happened. So that was my start in observability.
Fantastic. So great to hear about how you joined SAP. If we talk about you today, your role and the team you have, if you could explain to the audience a bit about that.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And it makes me proud to look also back. When I started in observability, I had a small team of developers that were building services around our observability stack. And so that team is still there. I think only one person of that team left. So I'm really proud to keep people for so long interested. And then, yeah, over time, I saw, oh, there is actually stuff going on the automation side, operational automation, that is very close connection to that. We should add that to the team. So this team joined at some point also BI, so the whole data lakes and how we interpret data and how we work with data joined my team. And then the whole process stuff. So how do we do incident management on a process? How do we do change management, service request management, all that was added over time. And yeah, the scope just got bigger and bigger. And I was thinking, how can you structure that properly? Because it's kind of all connected, but still like very specific domains still. And then I came across a Gartner article last year that talked about AI ops. And I was like, okay, AI, we do a lot with that. We do operations. What is it? And then I saw it has these three pillars: observe, which is the observability monitoring piece, has engage, which is all the process implementations, and has act as a definition, which is the automation. And I had that in the team. So it was like straightforward. Okay, let's structure my team really in that way, build an observe, engage, and act pillar around an AI framework as a foundation for the whole CX area to consume. And that's how the team is set up now. And it makes a lot of sense that these areas go together because there's a lot of touch points within these areas.
Yep. And you've got team members all across the globe in SAP collaborating together within that team. You touch on kind of the different members.
Yeah. So my team is actually really widespread. So it's from Vancouver to Sydney and a lot of locations in between. So it's an awesome team.
Truly global.
Truly global. It's like there's no common time where everyone is like working time at the same time. And so from a team structure, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to follow this model of a product manager and the development manager. So like the product manager for Observe defines the strategy, defines the direction, make sure that we have the right things in place. And then we have a development manager that actually speaks the language of the developers, trying to get this, what the product management thinks, into a product.
Yep.
That's for all three pillars. I have this set up and works also very well.
Works well. So if we think now about how you've managed to bring some external vendor tools together and amalgamate that into your processes and some of the in-house skills, if you could maybe talk about Marvin a little bit and what that's done to help your operations and deliver the results that you're seeing in SAP.
Before starting with Marvin, I have to go back. My first year, Black Friday, Black Friday in commerce is the event of the year, and it expanded now. There's a whole, there's Cyber Monday, there's the whole Christmas, Boxing Day, Singles Day, El Buen Fin, you name it. There's a lot in this November, December time, but Black Friday is still the number one. And when I joined the first, we had war rooms, 3 war rooms across the globe, and there were so many screens. And okay, I'm looking at this tool, and the other one looked at the other tool, and I think there were 7, 8 tools. I don't remember exactly, but there were like dedicated people looking at screens, and then someone was shouting, "I see something in this tool," and then I was like, "No, can't be. I don't see anything here." And then, "No, but I see something," and then, "Yeah, but I see it for this customer." "No, I mean the other customer." It's kind
Sounds
of
like
funny
chaos.
to reflect, but we did okay. And seeing that, it was clear we have to consolidate. We have to get rid of all these different fragmented tools and see what's really relevant.
Yep.
And I mean, we already had a good footprint in Dynatrace. We had a very good footprint also in Catchpoint. So it was kind of obvious to go with these tools first and focus on these two tools. So we tried to really decommission one tool after the other and bring all the logic that was in these tools into either Dynatrace or Catchpoint.
Yep.
So that was also hard fights, of course, with the development teams, because teams I have this awesome idea, I can monitor it with whatever tool, and there is open source, and I can do so much. But then when it comes to an operations, it's not just about availability or performance. It's a lot about total cost of ownership. And you can only run a business on scale if you consolidate. If I need 3 experts for each tool, because I need to do like a 24/7 support, it doesn't scale. If I have 3 tools out, suddenly already 9 people.
Yeah.
And it's simple examples. So it made a lot of sense to consolidate. And also there's a lot of convincing and talking, why is this also possible in this tool, and just looks different. Anyway, so the consolidation to these 2 tools, I think was key. And then we had 2 alert sources, and that's when Marvin came in. Actually, it was not Marvin in the beginning. We called it Table Dashboard.
And the name Marvin's quite an interesting story as well, right?
Yes, I will come to that.
Okay.
So I had the vision. We need something, a visualization where someone that has no clue, no deep knowledge about the product, who is not an expert, can see right away, okay, this is something where I need help, or this is something that I can just watch and see how it develops. So we started several attempts, like with, if there's more alerts, there's a bigger problem.
Yep.
It didn't work like that. Then we started to give it weights. It also didn't work so well. In the end, we developed an algorithm that takes all the alerts, takes the logic that we know from the business, what's impacting, and from that we can do it. But then now comes Marvin. Table dashboard, that sounds, because it looked like Excel in the end. It's not really
it's not
cool
as exciting.
Name. It's not exciting. We need a brand.
Yeah.
And then there's two stories. So my team says, actually, I wanted to call it Martin, like myself, but I didn't want to make it that obvious, so just change one letter, so it became Marvin. But that's not the real story. The real story is that I thought I want to have something that is, want to be lazy. That's the goal, right? You want to be as lazy as possible. And the first that came to my mind was the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, yep, where this Marvin robot is super lazy, does his job somehow, but in the laziest way possible. And that's how it came to Marvin.
Got it. No, great story. So you talked about tool consolidation, bringing it together with just Catchpoint, Dynatrace. Perhaps if you could expand on how you use those two technologies for the audience.
Yeah, of course. So I start with today. So today we have a very clear setup. We have Dynatrace as an application performance monitoring solution. We're looking into what's going on inside our systems, within our control, which is really good solution. And Catchpoint we use as internet performance monitoring solution. So everything that is outside of our premises, that is not in our control, but can affect our customers' business. So the CDNs, the DNS, the ISPs. And I think that's also important in the context of our customers to understand their whole business. You can say, there's no problem. Our side is working. Yeah, your CDN might have a problem, but it's not my problem. I think it's good to tell the customer, we identified an issue with your CDN. We can't really do anything about it, but please be aware we see it and you should do something. And that also shows like the interest in the customer, also establish a better collaboration.
Yep.
But I want to take a step back. It's because I said tool consolidation. And of course, everything some years ago was questioned, like what makes sense, what does not make sense. And I didn't know Catchpoint back then. And I had a look and said, pinging like websites from outside. What's the real benefit? What can I see from the internet that I cannot see internally, right? If my web server has a problem, I already see that in Dynatrace. I have the alert. So what's the point of even doing that? And this is kind of how the conversation with Catchpoint started. And this also may be a good advice to work closely with your vendors, understand the roadmap they're going, but also have your own roadmap ready where you want to go and discuss that together. And I mean, vendors will not always do what you want, but yeah, it starts a discussion and people start to think. And so with Catchpoint, I think the really awesome turnaround was when Catchpoint released the term of internet performance monitoring to see, okay, I'm not just testing your SSL certificates or your CDN. I'm really looking at an internet scale.
Yep.
And yeah, Catchpoint has the node network to it, so make use of it. And so that really helps us to understand we have multiple solutions in different hyperscalers, in SAP data centers across the world. And some customers have many, some customers have only one product. So you have to figure out what is actually relevant, because it doesn't help me if my marketing solution runs fine and my commerce solution runs fine, but the interface in between those two is not working. So then again, you have an issue. And that's why looking also at the internet is so important, in this development that Catchpoint did with internet performance monitoring is for us the perfect addition to what we already see on the APM side within our data centers.
Yep. And, obviously you now leverage not only the sort of synthetic monitoring of the node network for your own testing, you're looking at aggregated views of internet data through Sonar, and you use the professional services capability, as you mentioned, for some of the Black Friday events throughout the year. So really leveraging lots of the tool sets and capabilities, which is great.
Yeah.
And I think then if we think about impact, so the tool, the processes you put in place, that's critical in terms of being efficient, as you talked about with scale. But then what this has meant for the operations within CX and the results you've delivered, it'd be great to understand what you're seeing as an impact. The war rooms you talked about, or right at the beginning, to now how you handle the operations and the actual metrics behind that.
Yeah, so metrics is a really good point. So you need data points to run a business. So when I look at one of the key indicators we had in the beginning, we looked at the amount of alerts we have. But when I look at this now, we thought it makes sense, but it really does not. So we have, factor 10 the alerts today that we had 5 years ago. But what matters is something like how fast am I to detect something, and not just to detect, but also to see, is it relevant? Because in the end, the amount of experts is limited. And if I have 10 situations at the same time, I need 10 experts. So if I can limit that to maybe 3, I only need 3 experts. So it's easy math. So that was one of the key things. How can we identify the relevant things? And we collect a lot of data. Where it also becomes quite eminent, how long does it take us to inform a customer? And again, in history, some years ago, we were really bad here. It took us 180 minutes in average to inform a customer in a commerce scenario. Looking back, it's really ridiculous. So customers were calling us, like, why don't you see that? You should see that. You're running our platform. You have the data. Why don't you see it? So we took the effort and analyzed all these situations where customers called, where we had a situation, where we missed a situation. That, okay, here, this was the alert pattern. Why did we not see it? And then we tweaked the algorithm. Or here the customer called. Why didn't we see it? Oh, this is a scenario we didn't have on our radar. So let's include this scenario in our detection. So slowly, with the data we had and the analysis we did, became better. And then we looked at the different points that are needed to inform a customer. So there has to be an alert first. If there's an alert, someone has to decide, is that alert relevant or not? Then you might need an expert that says, yes, this is really a situation, because that first line of defense staff has deep knowledge. Then you need to create some kind of wording to inform the customer, because just sending out dear customer, there is something, let you know, is not good enough in the end. So we took all this, how long does it take in average to even create this customer message? Go to the tool, find the customer, write the message, send it out. How long does it take? We clocked all that. And then we found out, okay, we can do an automation here. We can use an API here because it takes too long to do it manual. We still want to keep a certain verification step because we don't trust the automation in the first place. Once we felt confident, we also automated certain steps to verify. And with all this and piece by piece, we're now in an average at 2 minutes to inform customers, and not just inform, but really in a qualified way that we say, dear customer, there's an issue on your storefront. It's most likely has to do with your CDN. We're working on it and we keep you posted. So it's within 2 minutes we're at that level, and I'm very proud of what my team achieved here.
Yeah, and you should be. It's truly customer centric, and undoubtedly SAP is a market leading brand, and maintaining that customer loyalty and that perception amongst your customers. It's clearly critical to have that kind of engagement with them, I guess. One of the other things I love is how you and the team have taken Marvin and used it for internal purposes, in terms of like the leadership team and how they can get accurate information about incidents and what's going on, because we've got our external customers and obviously we've got our internal customers in any business. So it'd be cool to hear how you've done that as well, and what the direction you're heading.
I think here we're still at the beginning in the exploration phase. But as you say, it's obvious, right? If there's a situation going on, customers call the people they know when they have a situation. And also when I inform a customer, it doesn't mean that I reach everyone at the customer's level. Normally you reach the technical teams, but you don't reach the C-level executives. And it also makes sense, because I think it's not the right level to send out emails. There is an issue, because in the end it's with the technical teams. But if that happens, of course, you get calls from customers and say, hey, what's the situation? And I think everyone who is in this customer-facing role knows, okay, then how can I get relevant information quickly, right? There is maybe a bridge call somewhere, but how can I find out where this bridge call is? And SAP is not just one product. We talk about lots of products, right? I mean, just in the CX space, it's already more than 2 handful of products. And the customer calls, and you might not even know which product he's talking about. He's just saying, I have a problem with my CX product. So you have to be very quick to get the information, but also you have to know where to look. And there's a lots of places. There's the ticketing system, there's the monitoring tools, there's breaches, there is communication channels, there's emails. Where's the right information at the latest? So what we did here is we built a mobile app that consolidates the most important information for a leadership level. So if I get a call now, I can take out my phone, just open this app, see, yes, there is a situation, someone's working on it. I have the contact person to do a call to if I want to get more information. I already have a high-level information. And there, I think we come to AI, but also here as first AI use case, we use a summary of the discussion that is going on, either in bridge calls from the transcripts or from the communications that are going on. Like the AI does a summary of it and also displays it in the app. So within, I would say, 30 seconds, I can give a qualified answer to every customer about a certain situation that is going on.
That's a fantastic position to be in. So, I mean, if we never just summarize that, we've created an operations team that's delivering, within short periods of time, identification of issues. We are able to, contact our customers, and we're actually giving internal stakeholders the information at their fingertips to be able to answer questions as well. So, fantastic set of outcomes, obviously. You sort of mentioned AI, and I guess as we think about the audience and what they might be talking about in their organizations, interested to get your personal view as an industry leader as to the value of AI. I mean, positive and negative elements, obviously, and where it should be used, and what you think maybe into the future as well.
Yeah, of course, it's in our day-to-day. AI is in everyone's mind at the moment. And the way I like to think about it, especially about the generative AI piece in a leadership position. So now I finally can ask questions I never asked because I know the effort is too high. And to give you an example, like look through all the tickets that were opened over the last year and correlate that with customer search events. Like, I don't know, I mean, Valentine's Day is an easy one, but customers also have flash sales, have sales campaigns, whatever, throughout the year. So is there a correlation between the amount of tickets happening with these search events? And yeah, you can do that for one customer or 3 or 5, but you can't do it on scale, because also you don't know when these events are in the first place. So you have multiple places to look at and you have to bring it together. And most likely the outcome of that analysis is just like, there's no pattern. So I never asked the question, but now I have the data. I can go to our AI models, our chatbots, and say, do this analysis for me. And I get this data out. And then I can say, actually, there is a pattern. I was curious. So there's a lot of these questions you can now ask on data analysis. And I find that is super exciting, because you actually find these edge cases that are hard to find. On the other side, of course, everything that is around like language, so summaries of things, how can you condense information together for the right audience, because yeah, a technical person wants way more details, like as in a leadership role, or when you have to talk to customer quickly, you don't want to read through 100 pages. You want to have like 2 sentences, and that must have the relevant information. And if I need more, I can go further. Mm-hmm. So yeah, generative AI we use a lot, and there is a lot of potential there, where when it comes to agentic AI, and we have not found the killer use case here, the really strong use case. And this may be something to think about. When you're in operations, you want to have a consistent way of doing it, because every deviation from the standard creates one of these edge cases where you can't really measure it properly. So, and the agentic AI here is maybe like a human. So if I ask you, build a pattern for yourself, the first 3 days you do in the morning after you wake up. I don't know. You wake up, you take your phone, you check your emails, and then you drink a glass of water. Try to do that for 1 month. Okay. You will not be able to do exactly the same order every day. No. And it's just normal, and there's Human no problem. Nature. And a bit the same is with when you handle situations in operations. You want to have like a reliable way, always the same way of doing it. And then you detect actually patterns. Yeah, here's something we're not doing right. You can tweak your processes, but you want to have it the same way, always. At least I would like to have that. And with an agentic AI, it's the same with a human. Most of the time it's the same, but sometimes it's a bit different because there's some like additional factors that is seen by the AI, and the factors that in and then just acts differently. So I don't have a reliable outcome, and that's not good. So often a simple automation is the way better way of doing things.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course there is agentic use cases that we use, especially with browser integration. That I find really like interesting, to let an AI like control your browser, go to that site, get the following information, summarize it for me, send an email out of that in the workflow kind of way. There's interesting use cases, but in the like, major incident scenario, we don't have any agentic use cases today, but a lot of automation use cases.
Automation, and yeah, I guess there's more to discover in the whole AI roadmap. I guess just as a final question for the audience, and someone maybe who's either starting out or looking at a new strategy, would you have any advice for anybody in the audience about what pitfalls to avoid or good practices to maybe follow that you've learned over your career?
Oh, that's a tough one.
No pressure.
No pressure. Thank you. I think there's a lot of data out, so make use of the data, try to understand the data and make your conclusions, but also discuss that with people, and discuss that with people who did it in the past or have a clue about things, or where you say, yeah, this is someone who does the same, and then you figure out, hey, they have similar challenges, or they maybe even solved one of the challenges. And even if you cannot one by one copy what that person did, but at least it helps you, it broadens your mind, you get more understanding, you learn more, and also, follow like what's going on in the industry, like what are the trends, and don't jump on any trend right away, but again, think, how does this benefit me? And maybe also one thing, how I'm trying to run my team. So I give out this direction of, so there's core business that has to work. There's no question about it. That's just day to day, spot on, mission critical. There's no discussion. And this should be around 60% of the workload of the whole team, not of an individual, but of the whole team. And then I have an emerging business section where I say it's around 30%. So this is the kind of things I know they're coming. I cannot avoid it. There's a new product released. I know I have to onboard it. There's no discussion. There is an initiative that is across the company. I will have to do it. So this is like 30% of the time. And then 10% of the time, the remaining 10, I call new horizons. And this is whenever someone has an idea what we could do, we don't know today, is that something that is beneficial or not? Will it ever become part of the core business or not? So just exploratory. So stay curious, like explore new ideas, and don't, it's like, I'm so busy, I can't do anything. You have to find the time somehow, and you have to structure things in a way that this time is not lost. Because if you lose innovation, you will lose business, and in the end, you will be just commodity.
Innovate or die.
Yes.
Yeah. No, wise words and really good advice. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been great to have the discussion. I hope really, really useful for the audience today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick. It was a pleasure talking to you. And it's an amazing day in London. So time to explore.
Time to explore.
Okay, great. So I hope you all enjoyed the interview. I know Martin and I did, not least the day in London afterwards. But we moved to sort of the second section of the webinar today, where there's the opportunity for you guys to ask questions about the topics we've covered today. I've also got a few questions in follow-up, which I hope everyone will enjoy listening to the answers for. But firstly, we've got Petros, who's asked us a question, two in fact. So we'll start with the first one. So given the number of products and the need for quick incident identification, what were the lessons learned during recruitment and onboarding of the operations team that you mentioned in the discussion, Martin?
That's a really good question. I like it. And I had to think a bit about it. And then, so I would say, first of all, I personally hire attitude over knowledge. So if someone has a good attitude, like is willing to learn, is open to explore, I would prefer a person over someone who already has all the knowledge, but that's just personally me. Because a curious person is always willing to learn, to explore, to go new ways. And that is something I personally like. And there's some people in my team have a different opinion, and I can understand, because a senior person, you don't have to train, you don't have to spend so much time in it. So that's always a bit of a discussion. Then once hired, I would say a very important thing is a buddy system. So really bring people together. The new joiner has to have someone who can ask any question. But also that means you need to have an open culture, right? Because if people are afraid to ask questions, then it slows down the whole thing. And one thing that is often forgotten is just listen to these newcomers. You do things for years, for such a long time. You're so focused on, this is how we do it. And then a newcomer says, why are you doing this? It makes no sense. And then you say, yeah, actually, you're right. But why are we doing this? And then you start to improve just because you get new insights in. So I don't know if that's really what you're looking for, Petros, as an answer, but I would say, yeah, so buddy systems, super important. And then also use the newcomers to improve what you're doing.
Great.
But,
well, I mean, if we've got anybody who's looking for a job in Martin's team over the next few years, they know exactly what to say in the interview. So there's some other hints there as well. Petros has also followed up, just asking if there's any examples, some grassroots examples of innovation through the New Horizons kind of process. You mentioned that 10% sort of airtime you like to give the team to think about new things.
yeah. So I mentioned in the video the mobile version of Marvin, where we have this overview, and that started, I would say, 3 years ago already, where we had some students in the team. And when I have students in the team, I always try to give them stuff where they can really are open to explore and use like all the creativity possible. And we came to that idea that, yeah, let's do something on the mobile somehow. And that first version actually failed miserably. So we just stopped the development after the students left. And then a new set of students came in last year, and they said, hey, I saw you had this in the past. We have an idea, let's do it. And it really became something that is super useful. But yeah, we didn't know if that really will be something that like also people will accept, right? And so yeah, this is something, is an example. We also tried, like, I don't know, to build certain dashboards on can we get more insights on business values, and so but that also died in the process, I would say, because there's just better tools within SAP to use, so you don't have to work around what's already there. Yeah, so whenever someone has an idea, I think Sonar was also one of these ideas where in the beginning we're like, can we really make use of it? It was in a very early stage when Catchpoint released it. We explored it. I mean, today it's part of our day-to-day. It's part of core business. It became part of core business. But when we started with Sonar, we were not sure 100% if there's really so much benefit that it's worth the invest. But today we have it and we're happy with it.
Great, thank you. And just for the audience there, Sonar is the aggregated view of all the 21 billion tests going on in the Catchpoint platform. So, ultimately people don't need to monitor the whole internet to get insights and help understand kind of what's going on the landscape. I've got a follow-up, and thank you, Petros, I should say. Great questions. A follow-up to obviously the interview we did, which is now maybe a month, 6 weeks ago. There weren't any agentic use cases you could talk about on that day, or none that came to mind. Interested to know if that's changed in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah. So when I revealed the video, there was something like, wow, the world really turned quite a bit. And as it's still kind of true that I personally don't trust an agentic AI with the major incident process itself. But of course, there's several use cases around it. So for example, we built a data anonymization service where, like, whenever we publish something, that all the data privacy is already considered. Also super useful for documentation updates, right? So you do something, you change setups, you change tools. So keep your documentation updated in an automated way as part of a workflow. We also did do some exploration on an AI-empowered software development lifecycle, where the product manager can already generate user stories based on his idea, and then the AI can fetch the code and already come up with some suggestions how the code should look like. So this is also quite exciting. And there's some more, so it could go on, but just this, it really was surprising to see what kind of innovation was was happening over. It's all very, very fast paced now. It's
Well,
good
over
to see.
6 weeks, yeah, and the next 6 weeks, I'm sure there'll be others as well. I guess a sort of final question. I know we're coming to time. One thing that occurred to me is, as a leader in this space, you have to continually go to the business and maybe ask for things and communicate with them. I don't know if there's anything you think that's advice to the peers out there of how you bring observability to the attention of the leadership. Again, I guess there's things you can't always share because you work for a company, but just if there's anything as a last thought for the audience there.
I think the journey, at least for me, and I think for a lot of people, it starts with escalations. So you have escalations and the business just sees the need to get out of the escalations into a way more stable business. But of course, if you're doing a great job, it also gets harder to build a good business case because everything's working, no customer is complaining. There's always something to improve, but is it really worth the invest? And I would say there's a lot of very good models out in the market that you can use, from how to improve your maturity, CMMI, or I personally like the labor demand model, where you have certain inputs to say, okay, this is what I want to do. How will an automation, for example, help me to improve things? But yeah, it for sure gets, when you're more mature, it gets harder to build good cases and convince the business because you don't have this market pressure from customers in the first place.
Yeah, of course, because there's always support in the middle of a disaster, but when there's calm waters, that's, I guess, the hardest time to convince. Well, I think we're about time. We've magically managed to hit almost the exact time slot, which is brilliant. Thank you so much for the interview and being available for the questions today, Martin. Thank you so much to our audience that joined today. We have a live poll which should just pop up on your screen now, so we'd encourage you to provide your feedback. We always love that, and obviously as Catchpoint, if you have any follow-up questions, anything you want to reach out to us, please do get in touch. Other than that, have a great rest of your day wherever you join us from, and we hopefully see you on another webinar soon in the future. Take care, everyone.